Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going.
Hello.
Good morning. Every time I hear that intro and I hear Declan in the background, I'm like, oh, he was so little.
You are. I feel like
Welcome
he was
to the
even
Mucked Up
more
My Self-Care podcast. Oh dear. So Jill, we're going to start, for anyone that has just joined us as a first timer, we start the podcast with highs and lows because we do believe that self-care and motherhood and life and all the rest of it has more than one side to the coin. And in doing our highs and lows to start us off, it helps get the ball rolling and make us feel a bit more human as well.
So, who's going first today?
I think it's probably my turn.
Okay.
I usually handball it to you.
Do it.
Oh dear. So, okay. I'm going to start with a low this time. I'm definitely feeling the pressure of school holidays as we come into our 4th, 5th week off school and still got about another 3 to go. And yeah, just the general stuff of having extra plates and bowls and mess and interruptions and planning and filling in time and hearing a lot of, I'm bored, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And yeah, it's just a little bit of a low, but also a high at the same time because I do enjoy having the time with them as well. A high for me it's a small but a big thing. I put 2 little piggy tails in Sigrid's hair today, and after having 3 boys, it was so, I'll use your words, Jill, so stinking cute. Like, really, oh my gosh, they were tiny, and they were messy, very messy by the end of the day, but they stayed in for most of the day, and it was adorable. So very, very cute.
I love it. That is probably one of the reasons why I would love to have a baby girl, so I can play with her hair and have cute hairstyles.
And her hair is slow growing, so
yeah,
she's got my slow grow hair. So we'll get there though. Yeah.
But yeah, super cute.
It is very cute.
Love it.
What about for you?
Okay, let's see. My low is, well, we'll do it this way. It's gonna be my high and my low. Sticky note time weekend. Actually, no, it is my low. Sticky note time weekend. A lot. I was super excited to have a lot of it like covered because I was going to have childcare for after school on Friday, which meant that I get to start Friday and do all my stuff that I needed to by myself. But then Declan was home for 2 days already before that. So there goes my childcare for Friday night into Saturday, which I was like, yes, alone time to do all these things for sticky time. My alone time came in the form of a napping child for instead. But got done. Sticky time has gotten done, but it's brought up a lot of also conflicting things, and more so like things that we'd like to do and travel and have fun with this year, but also already have things on the calendar that are going to impede that. So it's been a harder time figuring out our priorities, I think, for this quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Getting started this year. So we'll see how, vision boarding goes in, I think, tomorrow night, if this is when that airs. I don't even know anymore. Or it just happened if this aired. Something.
Yep.
I am looking forward to vision boarding, so that way I can kind of get a clearer picture on some of those priorities through that space that we set aside for it. So my high is that I did 2 things that I've never done before, all on my own, with lots of great preparation from my community. And that is, I did an open mic night and read an excerpt from my book. Very fun. And then I actually interviewed Bobby and I interviewed our first podcast guest for the Mama Outspoken podcast. So it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, because I am not one to be asking questions. My husband does not like to podcast, but we both killed it.
Awesome. I can't
In my
wait
opinion.
to listen.
I don't know. We'll see.
So will that episode be out by the time this one comes out?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think show notes. Awesome.
So go take a listen to the Mama Outspoken podcast as I put my little plug in there. But I am very proud of those 2 big things, and looking forward to doing them again. So
yeah, it's really hard. And I wanted to thank you for being honest about what's going on. Like I said, the highs and the lows, because our episode today is about venting, because sometimes all you want to do is actually vent instead of self-care. And we make a conscious effort to make sure that our conversations aren't filled with too much venting, while at the same time we have a moment before we hit record where sometimes we're like,
I like the highs and lows, because they are a form of venting, in my opinion. By the time we get on here, we're like, okay, so let's do a I wouldn't know if the right word is a controlled venting session, but it probably is. But you're right. Like, we set ourselves up and do a little bit of on-ramping before we record by having a catch-up session, which is really us venting half the time. Half the time you're rolling in right out of bedtime or in the middle of bedtime. And sorry, but bedtime makes me need to have a vent session. Like, it just does. I don't know about all the other moms listening. And I think that plays into the part of our having these conversations feel like self-care to us as well. Because I truly think venting is part of self-care, but there's a fine line between venting and complaining. And being careful of, how you approach that. Are you just sitting here to complain about one thing or are you just needing to get things off your chest so that way you can continue on? Because they're just, they're blocking all the other thoughts from coming through.
Yeah. And are you, I think, also bitching about things or somebody else as well?
It's so funny you say that. I want to have a crocheting club that's called Bitchin' and Stitchin' or something. Like,
we've got one down here that's exactly that. Yep. Sip and Sew is another one where it's like old ladies with, ladies with wine, basically.
Sewing. Sorry.
So, yeah, there's a couple of others as well, but it is true. So when we think about the times when, because let's just talk about the question itself, because the question we put here is when all we want to do is vent instead of self-care. So I imagine the Hollywood movies where they've got the very glamorous, usually blonde actors, sort of at the day spa, and their lines in the movie are very bitchy about perhaps the underdog of the movie or the other star or those sort of things. They're the sort of things I imagine are not helpful and not fulfilling enough for me to walk away and feel like I've got some satisfactory self-care. Because as you were saying just a minute ago about getting things off your chest, that can be a really, really helpful tool, because otherwise we can become repressed. And repressed emotions for me are a really huge problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know this about myself. A very huge problem.
Same boat.
And they ooze out in other areas and then splatter like slime all over the kitchen floor or something about something else, which usually isn't even the issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I am guilty of this when which is noticeable, I'm about to start my cycle. So my low week before getting my period is a lot of that bent up, where I maybe probably just do need to do more venting than self-care, but also don't skip on the self-care. But I'm guilty of leaving it till the nth hour. So not just the last minute of like right before you blow up, because you are going to blow up now because you've waited this long, but also right before bed.
Yep.
Right.
And like, what kind of sleep?
Like, maybe I actually did turn the lights out, and then all of a sudden I turn over. Why could it? No, I am so guilty of that. That is.
Yep.
But that's where my thoughts all of a sudden can just settle for a second and then come out. So obviously that's my husband. I'm not doing that with anybody else. I'm not just like, oh, let me pick up the phone and start venting to whoever at 11 o'clock at night. But when I was first postpartum, there was a fantastic group that I joined. It was Circle of Moms, and that's pretty much what it was. We got together on Zoom because it was during the pandemic at the time, and there was a great moderator. She led the group, and pretty much that's where I first learned about highs and lows. That's how we opened our time together, was sharing our highs and lows for the day or week. And then just spoke what was on our hearts, what was bothering us. It was this open, safe space for us to just say the shitty things about motherhood we were figuring out. If there were things personally going on or relationally with our spouses, or just trying to figure out motherhood. And it didn't get to a point of being, gossipy or drama. It was, the real vulnerable things that we go through as moms, just in a very safe space to vent. And I loved that about that group, is just being, even if you didn't talk and you were just listening, because as we have found out, down our motherhood journeys, is we may not have the same exact experiences, but we have those same feelings around different experiences. And we have really hard, crappy days, and sometimes just want to do absolutely nothing. But we also have those great days where we find the joy in it. And, it might give others hearing it the opportunity to relate or feel like they can open up too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's interesting. I just did a quick Google to help my words because it's getting late and I'm quite tired. And I just put in the question, why do people need to vent? And it says it does aid healing from a traumatic experience. So it's interesting you were just talking about the postpartum experience, because many birth experience, unfortunately, can be traumatic in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not the entirety. And I think another comment here says that people do find it helpful because it can help them release frustration and anger. And then once they've got it out, then they can problem solve a lot better as well.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had that experience. And at the same time as, I guess, the contrarian side of things, when venting reinforces our beliefs or reinforces negative thoughts, it can actually give us power as well. Give those negative thoughts power. So I think there's a fine line in how far we go or need, and maybe that's also indicative if we do need to vent for an hour or two, like, probably means that there's some other ways that we need to deal with it besides just talking, whether that's pen to paper, whether that's exercise, whether that's sleep, whether that's eating, whether that's just a little bit more acceptance of a situation, perhaps. Yeah, there's just some thoughts swirling there.
Just all I could think of was like, oh, this is what therapy is. Yeah.
Yeah. But nobody really wants to be in therapy 24/7 either.
No,
That's very,
but
exhausting.
it's a great place that someone is meeting you there to go ahead and just listen.
Have you ever felt times where you've vented about something and then afterwards being like, yeah, that could have been gone better, or I feel guilty for lumping that onto someone, or any of those ideas, or your own?
I think most of the times that no, let me start this over. One thing I find that I guess is funny to me at the time, but also then like I have to think back and realize that like I'm not probably venting to my village enough as it feels that my village comes to me to vent. And they apologize for it. People are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I unloaded all that on you. Like, I just needed to get that out, I guess." I'm like, "No worries. That's what I'm here for. Like, don't hold it in. Like, let's talk." But am I then guilty of not letting those things out because I don't want to bother somebody with my crap either. But I think I need to get a little better at that right now. At the same time, it almost feels like, once you start, it's just gonna let this waterfall of just everything you've been holding in, like we were talking about, just come out. And who wants to put themselves in a vulnerable space where too much is vented about in a way? And I think that's probably what I am overly cautious about is, controlling the dam along the way.
Yeah, true. So if you could vent about something in your kitchen right now, what would it be?
Oh my god. I need to take it all apart and reorganize the whole thing, and I cannot because my husband will lose his shit over everything changing in the kitchen because I haven't changed it in 8 years, and the last time I changed it, he lost his shit.
Yep.
And it needs organization. I need to throw stuff out, and I need new Tupperware. And I have it all. I just need the time to do it all. That's my vent for the kitchen. Linda, is that a room you can vent about?
Oh, yes. My cupboard, my food cupboard, feels like it's just constantly covered in salt or sugar or Weet-Bix or sultanas and we literally can't use the bottom 3 shelves at the moment because anything that gets put on there just gets taken out or smashed or broken somehow with a toddler. And so I don't know how, but she can reach the handles now and can open the cupboard. So she will build towers with the cans of tomatoes, which are what we can put down a bit lower. But she also got into the rice the other day. She's just quite a wild one.
Oh my goodness.
And I feel like I clean it out and I organize it, and then literally over exaggeration, but a minute later there's something spilled, like honey or soy sauce or something that somebody has gotten into. And we haven't got a lot in that. We don't have a huge stockpile of food, but we do have, flour and rice and soy sauce and spices and all of those things that seem to just get all mixed into a beautiful, lovely glitter sort of wonderful
all over the
recipe.
floor and the shelf.
Goodness. I vacuum it out constantly. Cereal.
How do you have time to do any other self-care other than cleaning your pantry cupboard?
And the kids stand on the shelves so they can get to the top shelf, which is where the stuff is that shouldn't be eaten. So there's handprint marks on the top of the cupboard and the roof where they've been standing on the bench to get that. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Oh,
Small
man.
thing, but a big thing. And I seem to be the only person who empties the rubbish still. Mm-hmm.
We have an extra adult living in the house with us now, and the extra mess, and I think Declan himself just is a terror anyway, but I'm always picking up something and putting it in the right spot. Always. The never-ending motion of my hand. This doesn't belong here. Put it here. Oh wait, there's something else that doesn't belong here.
Yeah, actually I saw a reel about this the other day. I don't know if I sent it to you, of a mum trying to make a cup of tea, and she gets the tea bags out and then realizes that
she's got to clean the mug.
She's got to clean a mug and then cleans the mug and then
dishwasher and then fill the dishwasher and then empty
the rubbish. It's just like, yep, that's about right.
Is that motherhood?
So true. So yeah, if you can relate, we would love to hear from you, because we are on our way onwards towards episode 100 pretty quickly. Can't believe it, Jill. And we will be organising a little bit of a special episode and events around 100 episodes, and then for later in the year as well. So that planning is all happening behind the scenes right now. Watch this space as we gather together and collaborate and all that sort of stuff, because that's what we've been doing now for, 94 episodes. So that would be hours and hours of conversation about self-care, believe it or not. And we have many more ideas and episodes in the bank as well. So that's another exciting part of what we're doing here. And yeah, we really appreciate you all listening and following along. So yeah, it means the world to us.
It does. We look forward to celebrating self-care and all the growth that, if you're listening along with us, might have had this year as well. So I guess until next week, Linda.
Yeah, we hope you can unstuck your muck.
Bye.
Bye.